Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Puruman Supripraj Charja Stotra Sri Srimad AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nama Charja Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kunradha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Welcome to all. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane Vanshakol Pitarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Ki Jai Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Well, again, welcome to all. And now we're moving forward, and the rule is basically that anything goes. All topics of Krishna consciousness are welcome. And there may be some particular topics that will come up and be worthy of extended discussion, or there may be just some one-offs. That's all fine. I had a topic right off the bat that I was thinking about. Although, well, I have a choice. I can see if there's something you've been holding on to that you want to ask or bring up. Otherwise, my topic is what is it that you've found inspiring lately? What is it that you're getting spiritual inspiration from, either today or this week, or like that? It doesn't have to be an extended essay, although one is welcome. But I just thought we might start off by sharing that, hearing what it is that's pressing your spiritual on button Would that be okay? Okay. And who would like to start off? Well, is that Tulsi Priya? Is that a hand? Or is that just a, no. Okay, I'll tell you what's working for me lately is I've been listening to Indra Maharaj's lectures from Vrindavan, which are extensively researched discussions of different holy places in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And I've been listening to the Govardhan retreats organized by Burijan Prabhu and Prashanta Dasi and Sachinandan Maharaj, which I have the recordings for the last 10 years or so. And I've been listening to them sequentially, although I broke them up to listen to the ones that just took place last week. So I found those very, very inspiring, very encouraging, and enlightening. A lot of deep thoughts there. And then the third thing is that I had Krishna Abhishek Prabhu here in Gainesville for the last few days, and we've gotten to spend a little bit of time together. He's a disciple of Tamal Krishna Maharaj and an excellent scholar, and and he's in charge of the birthplace of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's a Bengali Vaishnava and on good terms with everyone involved. So that's something he's giving a lot of attention to. Basically, he's focusing on the writings and the places of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we've had a lot of discussions on about that and about other topics. So I found those all sources of inspiration lately. And now we're ready to hear from anyone else who'd like to jump in or raise a hand or what have you. If only to say, let's abandon this topic and go on to something else. You're welcome to say that too.
I'll shamelessly jump in.
Okay.
Well, it's an easy question because for me, these evening talks that you've been giving have been one of the main sources of my inspiration lately. I enjoy your presentation very much, and I feel like it's a tremendous wealth of information and realization coming from you, and I think probably everybody who's on this call would feel the same way.
Well, that's why I brought the topic up, of course.
so as to not increase your discomfort, I'll mention something else. Also listening to Akhandati Prabhu's YouTube and Facebook lectures on the Atma paradigm, which is an extensively researched subject that he's really gone into very, very deeply. I recommend it to anyone. It's just an astounding, overwhelming amount of information and realization on the subject of the self, the scientifically understanding the difference between the self and the body in a way that's just, I think, beyond any kind of presentation of its kind that I've seen before, and very focused, but at the same time, tremendous amounts of information.
Wonderful. I was also attending his seminars. They ended like a week or so back, so otherwise I would have mentioned them. But for those who haven't attended them, they are archived on YouTube, and as you say, they're full of a wealth of research and realization. Thank you so much. And Akhandati, just to be in the association of Akhandati Prabhu is worth the price of admission. Someone else like to jump in? Yes, Tulsi Priya.
I chatted something, but I can just read it off. I said, even though I'm terrified to approach people on the street to distribute books, I'm always inspired by those who are doing it. It's such a basic, radical, in the literal sense, proactive preaching. And then I wrote, I didn't share that yet. Gopapatni Mataji, Dramila Prabhu, and Adikarta Prabhu. They're always posting. Oh, and the brahmacharis in Atlanta, who are always out it's really nice to see people, making that outreach, and I feel like it's saving us all, in the world at large.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Book distribution. Adi Karta, one of my heroes. Oh, Ganapati, Gopapatni Mataji, Drumila Prabhu, Legion of Superheroes.
There's another lady, I can't remember her name right now, but I think her husband had some project that he was sailing around the South Pacific or somewhere in a sailboat, doing some preaching that way, but I can't remember her name at the moment. And she does a lot of books also.
Very good. Very good. Someone else like to jump in? Yes, Meena Mataji. You can unmute yourself, or yeah, you're unmuted.
I've just been increasing my chanting.
Oh,
I was increasing my chanting.
how wonderful.
Yeah. So that's where, doing what I can do. I'm increasing the chanting, like every hour, 2 rounds at the top of every hour. For now, that's where I'm at. So
What a wonderful place to be.
yeah, it really is pretty amazing, actually. Yeah. I'm a little older, older body. And so to run around a parking lot or, I can't do that anymore.
No.
So it seems like the right thing to do at this stage of life is just to increase the chanting and hearing. That's why I'm here. I like to hear from you and the devotees here. So.
When Srila Prabhupada went to Fiji, there was a family of prominent business family there, and one of several brothers who were business leaders, and one of the brothers, they were all older. He asked Srila Prabhupada what he should do, particularly because he was older. Prabhupada said, more japa. More japa. Chant more japa. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Yes. Shara.
Farewell, Maharaj and devotees. My husband and I are very lucky to have devotee association right now in the form of my parents, and as well as association with these Zoom meetings. So that's been very inspiring. The other day, I looked at my parents and I was like, God, it would be so weird if you guys were non-devotees. Like I can't picture that. That would be horrible. It would be so horrible. And I was actually, for the first time, thinking how lucky I am to have devotee parents. Mm-hmm. So that, and also playing bhajans as much as possible, recordings.
Mm. Who are your favorites?
Badahari Prabhu. And yeah, there are a lot of really Agnidev Prabhu.
Mm.
Yeah.
I heard secondhand, but I believe it, that Shivaram Raj was listening to Agnidev Prabhu chanting, and he said, you can't chant like that after only one lifetime.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maharaj,
Yes.
since this Bhagavatam class has been started, it's so inspiring for all of us, and we all look forward to it every time it's time for class. We can't miss it, and we really feel so eager to hear more and more. And since this pandemic have started and we started class, I've got so inspired that instead of just chanting 16 rounds, I said, why not add another 4? So for months now, I've been doing 20 faithfully. Sometimes at night, I'm a little behind, but then, late at night, but I get it done every day. And it's very purifying. I feel there's such a big difference, and realize that I should have done this a long time ago. But anyways, it's just having all the devotee association online is really wonderful.
Shai. Sadhu Sangha, chanting of the holy name, Srimad Bhagavatam. Someone else like to jump in? Tulsi Priya, again.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. I understand completely why people say they're inspired by these Zoom meetings. I didn't say that, even though it's true, but I feel like in some respect it's more like life support than inspiration. Like, you have inspiration when you're at a certain level of health, and I just feel like the world is so crazy right now that this is just helping me to hold on and not completely collapse into a heap of nothing. So yeah, I'm glad everybody else is in better psychological health than I am, but for me it's just pure life support that if I didn't have it I would be lost.
Our life and soul, Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, I'm looking at Kamalini. You just happen to be right there on the video.
Really? I missed the question. The original question you asked everyone, what was that?
That was, what is it that you're getting inspiration from these days, that you're finding inspiring or juicy or enlivening?
Oh, really? Okay, well, we, for like more than 3.5 years, we've had a Srimad Bhagavatam reading group. We finished the entire Bhagavatam. We meet Monday through Friday for 1 hour, and we read for 45 minutes, and then we have a discussion for 15 or 20. And we are now on the second canto. So that's very inspiring to me. It's mostly Indian devotees, but that's one thing. And then, I listen to all lectures a lot. Like I just discovered on YouTube, I typed in Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I got Gauranga Darshan, and he did this whole Bhagavat Bodhini, is that what it's called?
Bhagavat Subodhini.
Yeah, and he's like real, a lot of those brahmacharis from Chaupati, and he lives at Eco Village. They're just like so knowledgeable and so enthusiastic, and I listen to a lot of different lectures on YouTube, and then Hawaii, Hawaii for more than 10 years, they have a Srimad Bhagavatam class every single day at 6 a.m. their time, which is with 6 hours later here. Oh, well, no, not quite. 5 hours now. They don't observe daylight savings time. So 6 hours during daylight saving time, 5 now. And I often go on that. And one reason I like these and also like this is like I really like the sense of community where like on this sangha here, we get to know each other and get to share together, and because otherwise I feel kind of lost and and just kind of on my own. So I like that idea. Like in Hawaii, that's a very strong community too. They have at least 15 devotees every day on the there on that class, and so they've been doing it more than 10 years. So it's quite a community, and that's one thing that inspires me, because I feel bereft of community in real life, even though I live at a temple. I still feel that way. So that's one thing that I could say. And then of course, reading. Like now I'm reading A Bond of Love. And everybody, you should know that I sell books if you're ever looking for a book. And A Bond of Love is about Prabhupada's female disciples and their exchanges with him. And many have never met him in person even. So that's very interesting that, how we're not dependent on physical, on Vapu, but how Vani is the main connection to Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master and all of that. But and then of course Prasadam is always what inspires me. I'm a very big fan of Prasadam, and I don't cook, so. So I feel very fortunate that my husband loves to cook. So that's one thing.
There's a lot of people who are very fortunate that your husband loves to cook.
Yeah. Want to have a seat?
Thank you so much. We have a note that Mohanashini Dasi is the devotee who has the traveling husband and who's out there distributing books, a veteran book distributor.
I don't know, but not in the
Well, I see Haridas Prabhu before me.
Yes.
Would you like to contribute something, Prabhu?
Sure. Well, I'll echo what others have said about the evening classes that you've been hosting and kindly giving, the exchanges that come from them, the back and forth learning, hearing everybody participate when they have questions and share their reflections. So that's been very inspirational. When I found out about it, I was, I missed the first canto. I'm just picking this up in the second canto or the end of the first canto. And I tried to search for them.
Well, we started toward the end of the first canto. We didn't begin at the beginning.
Oh, okay. So then
you didn't miss much.
I didn't miss too much then. And then I've been listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures in a series of lectures. I thought, all right, let me try the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and all the lectures that he gave in the series. So I found that a good way to find something I could do consistently that had a shape to it. And I found that was helpful, inspirational. And I think those were the two main things.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Well, again, my eyes are leading me and they go straight to Chaitanya Bhava.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to jump in and say that for me also the inspiration is actually I'm part of the Bhagavatam reading led by Apurva Prabhu and Kamalini Mataji. So that is really, that always keeps me inspired every day because we have it every day. And it's so nice to read Bhagavatam properly and we discuss purports very nicely. So that always keeps me very inspired. So just wanted to say that.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Oh, and Maharaj, I just, as I was finishing, I thought, I'm also like you had mentioned the Govardhan retreat. And I did when it was, I guess, virtually done about a week ago. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, 4 hours a night, starting at 5 o'clock. And I'm pretty tired sometimes. Am I going to be able to do that? And then at the end, I thought, is that all there is? So that was so quick. I need more. This was good. So then I started listening also to some of the recordings, particularly of Jagatarini telling her stories. So that was also inspirational.
After attending, then I listened to the recordings again, you know, and there was so much, you know, more to relish.
Yeah, they were very nice.
Thank you. Well, Suman,
Hare
Kia
Krishna
ora.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, one of my last few days, the spiritual nourishment, I would say, I've been hearing Prabhupada's lectures from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which he gave in Mayapur from the Adi Lila, and many concepts became so crystal clear upon hearing those Adi Lila lectures. So they have been very nourishing after the Govardhan retreat last week. And also, I was hearing some lectures of Bhakti Swami on Uddhav Gita, which he was giving in Ujjain. So these two things were very helpful and nourishing for me, especially Srila Prabhupada's lectures on Chaitanya Charitamrita. They are so clear and so precise to the point. So even more than his purpose.
Mm. Wow. Thank you so much. Such a blessing to be able to hear from Srila Prabhupada. Well, let's see who's there that's not visible. There's Bhatu Gopal, there's Damodar Vilas. Who would like to speak something? Prabeen, Lakshmana, Sankarshan, Surabhi Kunjay. Would anyone else like to contribute something? You can raise a hand or just unmute yourself and jump in. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's encouraging to hear what's encouraging you. It's encouraging to hear what's encouraging you. Let me look back up in the chat box and see what's going on here. Can I scroll it? Yes, I can. Well, we have a question or it's a comment from Shuman. Can we have a discussion on the 10 offenses? Yeah, well, there's a major undertaking. That's in one sense, the sum and substance of our bhajan, our devotional practice is chanting 16 rounds and avoiding 10 offenses. And if we can avoid those 10 offenses while chanting, then we come to the clearing stage, we come finally to the pure stage. And in the pure stage, we get to taste the actual fruit of love for Krishna. Even in the clearing stage, it's like the sun coming up. Even before it fully comes up, you start to feel all warm and bright. So this Chaitodarpana Marjanam, purification of heart, takes place when the more we can avoid these 10 offenses. We can launch into a full-scale, what shall we say, full-scale assault on the topic. I wonder if I'm prepared for that. To really do it, it seems like we should be doing some research and some real concentrated focus on that. And well, I haven't come prepared to do that. Of course, we can always talk about these things, but to really do justice to it. It's like a major subject. Sankarsana says he's not unable to unmute himself, but he's presently serving at Satsrup Maharaj's ashram. And that has been inspiring. The daily readings presently on CC are enlightening. Let's see if I can unmute you, Sankarsana Prabhu. All it says is I can ask you to unmute. And then if I press that, nothing happens. Wait, Sankarshan has disappeared from my list. No, he's gone up to the top. Oh, it seems you're unmuted, Sankarshan Prabhu. Want to give a try and see what happens if you speak? Yes, he's, well, it says that you're unmuted, Sankarshan Prabhu. But if you're speaking and you can't be heard, then something else is wrong. Some setting on your computer, something like that. But by your typing, we got it. Satsrup Maharaj's ashram is wonderful. And that hearing goes on during breakfast, during lunch. There's reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita or different scriptures. It's sometimes Srimad Bhagavatam. Now it seems it's Chaitanya Charitamrita. And just hearing is so, that focus is so wonderful. And there's a comment from Tulsi Priya. Let me scroll down if I can. I'm also inspired by these young men and women who have taken to the process of Krishna consciousness. It's so enlivening to see their bright faces when they ask questions and share their realizations. Yeah, that's Anandam Buddhibhartanam, where devotees are so happy when they see others becoming devotees and making progress and feeling happy. That's so enlivening. Well, Suman doesn't want to let me go. He wants to know if we can discuss the offenses from the next class. Yes, Kamalini. Yes, his desire is strong. Kamalini, did you want to say something?
Unmute. Well, I would propose that we, like you say, that's a rather extensive like seminar, but
Yes.
I would like to propose that we can ask any questions from our readings, you know, because because I think we come across questions or perhaps doubts. Like I was thinking maybe it's not good to share my doubts because then others might, you know, interfere with their strong faith. But you're the best person to tackle them, tackle doubts and, you know, questions from the scriptures that may seem, there's much that's incomprehensible on our, I guess you could say, spatial realm, you know, this realm of existence, not exactly, doesn't fit in, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's one proposal I have.
That suits me better because it suits my lazy nature better.
Lazy. That's not lazy.
Also, about doubts, it's interesting. I find it interesting in looking at the writings of the Goswamis that Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, that they take things that are contradictory, where, you know, we might look at that and say, well, anyway, you know, and just sort of let it go and not worry about it. You know, it's contradictory, but we won't worry about it. And they tackle it.
Hmm.
And it's like they pull on the thread and they follow it and they see where it goes. And at the end, you find all this really juicy stuff that comes out from digging into that question or that doubt or that whatever it may be. So I don't mind if there's some, we have our doubts and sort of if we bring them out and examine them, that can be helpful. I had an idea for Schumann that maybe you want to do some of the work for me. Maybe you can do some reading and organize some of the, make like an outline of references one by one for the various offenses. And then maybe not next week, but as we build up steam, so to speak, we can handle them. We may not handle them all in a row, 10 days, 10 offenses, or 20 days, 10 offenses, or what have you. But we might, do one and then do some other things and then do the next one. Or we might take them all in one go, straight after one or another. Harinam Chintamani, you have different editions. All right, why don't you take that up? And you can report to us. It's like, I'm getting old and lazy. I don't want to do all the work. So if you take on some of the work, that will be enlightening for you, and then you can enlighten us and we can discuss. Is that all right? Okay, I can try. Good. All right, so that's there. And for the, I will try. Try is a failure word, just do it. All right, let's see then what kind of one by one topics or questions might come up. We still have about 20 minutes and we can, I have something that I've been working on that I could talk about, but I wonder what's been coming up in your world. Haridas. Was that a hand?
Yes. Yes. I wanted to follow up on a question I asked the other day about culture, and you answered it to some degree. I asked the question about monolithic culture, that someone could argue that Krishna consciousness has a very specific cultural context. And there are other cultures. Your answer addressed the kind of no culture that exists materially around the world, how it's been steamrolled and people are wearing this jean in Japan, I think you mentioned, and the culture is disappearing. But I see a lot of people in general have cultural traditions or roots that they feel very attached to.
Mm-hmm.
And their culture seems sometimes to block or interfere with the idea of the personality of Godhead being from a different culture, so to speak, and doesn't fit in their cultural paradigm, which seems very rooted in who they think they are and then what they think the universe is based on that. So I just wondered if you could maybe comment on that, rather than just the idea of the consumer culture consuming the world, which I get that too.
Right. It's an interesting thought how people from different cultures appreciate Krishna consciousness, or how their culture, how they negotiate the relationship between their culture and an apparently foreign culture. It raises interesting questions. In one sense, well, let me think about that, because there's certain thoughts that come to mind. from one point of view, we keep what's good in any culture. I know, just like from eating, for example, if I go to different places, every place has something good. They have a lot of abominable things, but every place has something good. And we can appreciate that and think that, let me offer this to Krishna, or let this be, yes, let this be offered to Krishna for his pleasure. We have some people joining in the waiting room, if you can catch them. Yeah. And that can become a contribution to the diversity of the Krishna consciousness movement, that people bring something from their culture with them, which is consistent with Krishna consciousness, which can be pleasing to Krishna, which can be offered to Krishna. And that Prabhupada said, like a garland, it's not just all yellow flowers or all red roses, but when there are different flowers together, then the garland is more appreciated. So that's one thought.
A positive thought. Yeah.
A positive thought, yeah. In a sort of strategic way also, I think of the question reminds me of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and his sort of innovative or his boldness in integrating aspects of African culture with Krishna consciousness, bringing them in and not saying, okay, now you give up what you have and you come on over and do something entirely different. But he brought certain things over that were consistent and which sort of kept an identity, a cultural identity, but made it easy for people at the same time to adopt a different cultural identity. They could keep something and take something, rather than saying, okay, leave everything at the door and come in.
That's helpful.
So that comes to mind. It also comes to mind that there's a sort of, in the core culture of Krishna consciousness, there are values that are common to almost anything worthy of the name culture. There's sort of the standard things that often get lost in modern life. Respect for parents, respect for elders, humility, gratitude, concern for the feelings of others, selflessness, devotion. So many features of Krishna consciousness that any culture worthy of the name ought to have. And it's not at all sectarian, really, when you look at it. It's not that, no, I'm Christian, we're not supposed to be humble, or we're not, whatever else is there. When you look at the core values in the Bhagavad Gita, what is that? Abhayam sattva sangshuddhir jnana yoga vyavastiti dhanam dhamascha yagyascha. These are items of knowledge, or godly qualities, to be fearless, to want to purify one's existence. Abhayam sattva sangshuddhir jnana yoga vyavastiti, to be try to situate oneself in knowledge. Dhanam dhamascha yagyascha, to be generous, to be self-controlled, to be sacrificing. Swadhyaya, to study scriptural literature, tapa, austerity, arjavam, straightforwardness, arjavam, fear, modesty, chapalam, to be steady, teja, to have power, kshama, tolerance, teja kshama, driti, determination, shocham, cleanliness, next to godliness. On and on, these adroho nati manita. What's adroho nati manita? Adroho, I think, aversion to fault finding. In this way, these are daivi sampad, godly qualities. And that's, essential to Krishna consciousness. It may be expressed in this way or that way. That's all just to dress up in a dhoti and have 2 lines on your forehead, but to be arrogant and proud and addicted to fault finding, then say, no, we have a better culture. That doesn't cut it. So I think that so that's another thought that comes to mind, that when we speak of Krishna conscious culture, it's not just Indian culture or Hindu culture, but these are cultural values that any godly human being would think, yes, these are good. This is good. So that thought comes. Then the thought comes that there's a kind of refinement in Vaishnav culture, which a cultured person from anywhere will appreciate. And we have to develop that also, because sometimes we just assume that, well, we're Vaishnavas, therefore we're cultured, but sometimes we're really not. And those who are cultured, even if they're not fully Krishna conscious, can see it. So we need to cultivate refine our bring ourselves more in tune with our own culture, so that we actually live it and get the benefit of it and share it as a community, and then represent it to the world, and not just say, yeah, we've got the greatest culture, but then when you look at it, you say, that's the greatest culture. We really want to develop that. Yeah, culture is also a verb. Tulsi Priya points out. For bacteria, but it's also to culture, the culture of knowledge, to culture our own understanding. I was just talking with Krishna Abhishek today and relating, because we're speaking about culture, a story that when Bhaktivedanta Hospital opened, then Krishna Chandra Prabhu, who'd been leading the effort, held a dedication program really for the benefit of the donors, who'd, among his circle especially, there were some very wealthy people who'd given generous donations, and from elsewhere also. So the donors were invited, and there was usual talks. He spoke something, some ministers spoke something, some ISKCON leaders spoke something. And then there was prasadam, which was really first class. I mean, the Chopati gang, when they do prasadam, they know how to arrange first class prasadam and then present it so nicely. And so there was prasadam, and really high class prasadam for these very high class people. And one of these are all big industrialists and public leaders. So one of the men asked Krishna Chandra, he said, could I get some prasadam from my driver? Because in India, typically, any big man, he doesn't drive. He has a driver who does the driving for him. So can I get some prasadam for my driver? So Krishna Chandra said, drivers have already been fed. He said, while the talks were going on, it had already been arranged that all the drivers took prasadam, and the same prasadam that the high-class guests were given. So what culture to be thinking of not only of the big donors, but of everyone, that the drivers also should be, they have to eat, they should be happy. So this is Vaishnav culture, to think about others, how others will be happy. Sarve sukhino bhavantu. Then there are other things. Again, this is a story I've told many times, that one time I was in Juhu, and there was an engagement in the evening, and I was supposed to go with the brahmacharis and others on this program. So some of you may know Dr. Radhakrishnan, not Dr. Radhakrishnan, the former president, but Dr. Radhakrishna Prabhu from Chopati. He was at that time serving in Juhu. So he came up to my room and he said, Maharaj, whenever you wish to go, the car is ready. Whenever you wish to go, the car is ready. So what does that mean? Translated into American, what it meant was, Maharaj, everyone's in the car and we're just waiting for you.
Just the opposite of how we usually say, come on, everyone's waiting.
Exactly. Come on, you're holding everyone up. Everybody's in the car. We're all waiting for you. Maharaj, whenever you wish to go, the car is ready. So these are some. Prabhupada himself one time said that what is the sign of he said it many times actually, the sign of a Krishna conscious person is that he's a perfect gentleman. The sign of a Krishna conscious person is a perfect gentleman. That anyone will appreciate. So, such a nice person. Does that answer?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
Good question. Good thought. Culture. Culture of knowledge. Finally, that's the essential thing. When the list is given of the items of knowledge in 13th chapter, I think 13th chapter. Yeah, 13th chapter. What is it? Bhaktir Avyabhicharani. One of the items is unalloyed devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada points to that as the essential item. The essential item. If that item is there, then even if there may be discrepancies in so many other things, still the person is a first-class human being. Even though they may be rough around the edges, as Prabhupada's disciples often were and perhaps sometimes still are, that dedication to Krishna makes for cultural perfection. It's, in one sense, makes up for all the shortcomings. But he's dedicated to Krishna. He's a devotee. That quality sort of trumps everything else. And on the other side, if there's no Krishna consciousness, then Shame Kevalam, it's all useless. You have all your other good qualities, but they're like, what is that? The decoration of a dead body. Nicely dressed and this, but there's no Krishna consciousness. It's the decoration of a dead body. So that's the essence of our culture. If we're just very cultured externally, we know table manners very nicely, and we're sweet of speech, and we know when to stand and when to sit and when to say thank you and all of that, but we're not God conscious, which means essentially that we're materially focused. Then what is the use of all that culture? Our knowledge of the theater, our appreciation of fine art, our ability to see the fine points of dance or music. If there's no Krishna consciousness, it's all a waste. That's the essential element of culture. My example is, what is that? Harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna, manoratain asati dhavatobi, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana, sarvaya gunais tatra samasate sura. Person who's Krishna conscious will automatically develop the godly qualities. And if one's not Krishna conscious, where are his good qualities? Even if we see superficially, oh, this person is so qualified or so cultured, at the end it's meaningless because he's not Krishna conscious. My example is that there's somebody he's very polite, considerate, well-dressed, he speaks softly, he's generous, so many good qualities, but he's the head of the local mafia. Then what are all those good qualities? They're all canceled because he's an outlaw. Ultimately, the government doesn't say, oh, but he's generous and he's very friendly with his group. No, he's an outlaw. Everything else is canceled. And even if one may have some superficially rough qualities, if the person is Krishna conscious, oh, such a wonderful person. I'll give you an example of a cultured person. We're running at 8 o'clock, so maybe we'll stop after this. Prabhupada himself cited this example. I happened to be there. Prabhupada was walking in Raman Reti in Vrindavan, morning walk, walking with a group of disciples, mostly sannyasis and brahmacharis, and other devotees. And we happened to walk through one field. And the farmer came out, approached us. And this, by farmer, I mean an old man with gnarled hands and, sort of sunbeaten and calloused, and cloth that was rough and permanently gray, and a real man of the soil, very simple village kind of person. And he came before Prabhupada and the devotees and offered his dandavats, if I recall. He bowed down before all the devotees, Prabhupada. And he said in Hindi that it's our great fortune that you've come to our field. He said, actually, it is not our field, it is Govinda's field. And your Govinda's devotees were so fortunate that you've come to bless our field. That's a dirt farmer in Vrindavan. Such a cultured person. Prabhupada said in America, they would have come with a gun. Get out. Get off my property. But here's such a person, humble and with perfect knowledge that everything belongs to Krishna and that the most important people are the devotees of Krishna. So naturally respectful, naturally humble. Such a wonderful, wonderful thing. So that's, I'm sure he wouldn't have known where, wouldn't have had table manners for Park Avenue. But he's, more advanced in culture than so many sophisticated, refined New Yorkers. By that simple devotion and genuine spiritual culture. Well, we're at 8 o'clock, so I suppose we should follow our schedule here. And thank you all for your ongoing association. And let's see, I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you all. Hare Krishna and happy chanting.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj,
What-
did you shift from Tobacco to Gainesville?
Yes, I'm in Gainesville now at the Bhaktivedanta Institute house. And we're, plans are going on for how to spread Krishna, how to continue the mission of Bhaktivedanta Institute and spread Krishna consciousness in the scientific field. So our Brahmatirtha Prabhu, who was an original member of Bhaktivedanta Institute, is leading the charge, leading the organizing things. Vridanand Maharaj has sprung for this very nice house as a headquarters in Gainesville. And let's see what some professors have donated their books from their libraries, and some interesting things are cooking. Well, let's see if they're to my desire.
Is this the same thing that Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj started?
I couldn't hear you.
Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj
Yes.
is the same thing?
Yeah. Bhaktivedanta Institute has sort of evolved into having different centers working under different devotees, working in different directions. In Prabhupada's time, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was in charge of the Institute under Prabhupada's appointment. And now there are some devotees who are very specifically focused on trying to do things, giving the same sort of emphasis that Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was giving in his presentation to the scientific world. In Calcutta, especially, he has a group there and elsewhere. And then there's a group in Bombay, and there's so sort of Sadaputa Prabhu was working here in Lachua, and Druta Karma Prabhu is working from wherever he may be. And, so it's a diverse effort. There was recently a conference here, inviting people from all of these different initiatives, devotees from all of these initiatives to present Krishna consciousness in a forum with outside scholars also. So there's a lot of scope for moving forward. Prabhupada considered it very important presenting the science is, reigns supreme in the modern world as far as where we look to for knowledge. So Berkeley also. Science reigns supreme, and therefore Srila Prabhupada wanted Krishna consciousness presented by scientists in scientific language, on the basis of or informed by Vedic culture. So let's see how that goes. Let's see how it goes. Our Doug Prabhu is here on the call. He's has a scientific background, and he's also participating here in Gainesville. So, I'm sorry? Yeah.
I said Doug Prabhu. I like that.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very good.
Hare
Krishna, thank you.
Hare Bo.
Good night.